Hi, this is Kevin Trainer, and welcome to my tutorial on the macOS version of how to change an individual page in our shared web content website, how to commit that change, uh, how to push changes from your local repository to the remote repository. That's the one that we're using in common, so it's kind of a central repository, though that's not what it's called. And a couple of other details along the way. This is a recording specifically for my senior capstone class at uh, UWM. It probably won't be of a lot of use to people with a more general interest. In the last of the videos, um, what we did was we found our uh, remote repository on Bitbucket, and we cloned it onto our local machine. In my case, it's my MacBook Pro. Um, and we gave a little bit of a look ahead about, we looked around the repository. We actually changed some content on a page, and then we went back and we looked at it in the source tree client to see what it looks like when you've changed a page. Okay, so let's pick it up there. Okay, so again, the source tree client for the Mac has two windows, okay? And the Senior Capstone Spring 2019, that's the name of the repository we're using in the current semester. I'm hoping the video is going to have a good long life, so I'm hoping that maybe you're a person in the future who's going to be finding a repository by a slightly different name because we're in, the fall of 2020, let's say. Okay, so when I want to use a repository using the source tree client, I can double click on the name, and it brings up the other client window that we get for source tree. And if there are three views that you can get, of which I recommend two. File status shows you the status of files in the repository that have been changed or added or deleted. So all the changes in the repository. The history view shows you the history in the repository. We had the initial commit. So far we have uncommitted changes on this because we did it in the last of the videos. And we're going to make a couple of more changes before we try to commit them to this copy of the local repository. Now, where's the local repository? Well, sometimes I've lost them, right? So you can actually go up to the menu and click on repository settings. And you can click on remotes, I think. No, is that going to show it to you? No, it's not going to. Well, that shows you where the remote is. Where is it? Oh, right here. So we clicked on advanced, and here's where the repository is in my file system. Okay, so it's in my home directory, which happens to be called Kevin Trainer, and it's called Senior Capstone. It's spring 2019. And this particular setting is telling us how to get at a particular file called gitignore, which is in our repository or can be created in our repository, but we haven't created that yet. We're not going to worry about that. Okay, so that's where it is. So let's go find it. So I'm going to go to Kevin Trainer, and then Senior Capstone Spring 2019. Let's open that up. And here we've got all the pages. Okay. And remember, we've already changed one page. Which one did we change? Well, let's go back to the other window and see under File Status. You can see that we've already changed Student Sample. So that was the sample page. Oh, okay. What would happen if we changed another page? Well, you know, I still have to change my individual page. Okay. But before we do that, let's look at. Sorry, I really meant to do something different. Let's look at where the student pages are. Okay. Student pages are in the directory called students. The file names are last name _ first name .html, and the sample student is called student _ sample. That's where we were. And if we open that up with a browser, not a browser, but an editor. I like the TextMate editor on the Mac. Everybody has their own ideas about what's the best or the most fun. Okay, and let's make that type a little bigger. And what I did is I came in here and there was standard text here, and I replaced the text. Okay. And so my new text says, sample student is a fictional this student in my senior capstone class. Her page allows me to demonstrate how to change content on a student web page. Okay. Okay, and let's just add a little more content here. And I'm going to add another paragraph. And I'm going to say, note that, that I added this paragraph during the tutorial on changing content on macOS. It turns out that the clients on for SourceTree are a little different, and I've never had separate versions for how to use the clients, but I've had enough interest in that I finally decided to do it. Okay, good. So this is like any other text editor. Click up here, File, Save. It's been saved, right? Okay. Now, how can we tell what's been changed in SourceTree? Well, click on SourceTree, and right now we're in the top level window. Just do a double click, and now we're back on the other window. We want to be on the file status view. Okay, that's good. And here we can see that we have added another line, and that shows up in green over here. So if we've clicked on a particular file and we want to see what changed, we can go over here, and it shows them all in terms of deletes and adds. So a change is a delete and an add. And before we had added lines 24 and 25, and now we just added line 26. Okay, good. So what's happened at this point is it's ready for us to commit. I'm not going to commit quite yet, okay? Because I want to show you some of the commit features, a few more of the commit features. So what if we changed more than one file at a time? You know, does everybody change one file and then go commit that change? Some people do. Typically, you do a related unit of work, and then you try to commit that. All right. Sometimes that's one file. Sometimes that's going to be more. So let's shrink that and shrink this. And let's go to another part of the directory structure that makes up our repository. And let's find the directory, subdirectory for instructors. And we see that there's a page for Kevin Trainer. Let's open that one. So do an open with TextMate and make that type a little bigger. Okay. And again, this kind of looks the same as your student page is going to look. I say in italics, each instructor is expected to add some appropriate content. So I'm going to get rid of the italics. All right. Because that was just there to catch your attention, right? And I'm going to say, hi, Kevin Trainer. Welcome to the senior capstone class. I expect us to have a lot of fun this semester while we learn about Agile project management and develop systems solutions for real clients. Yeah, so that looks good. Okay, what's left to do? Save it. Okay. File. Save. All right. So I'm going to close that editor. Let's go back to the source tree client. Okay. And I guess I could probably right-click on that icon and we could see, oh, we've got two windows. Let's go to the one that has the name of our repository, and it pops up that one. That's another way to get that window up. And you can see that we've got two changes that are ready to commit. Okay, we've changed the sample student page and the Kevin Trainer page in two different directories. Now, and if you look over here, when we're clicked on the student sample page, you see the deleted lines and the added lines there. And when we're clicked on the the trainer Kevin page, you see the deleted line and the added lines there. Okay, so they've been changed in our local copy of the repository. We haven't committed to them yet. Okay, well, what does it mean to not have committed to them? Well, it's actually possible to revert them. Okay, so for instance, you can go to one of these. Okay, let's say the Kevin Trainer 1, the Trainer Kevin 1. And you can right click and then you can say reset to commit. Reset to what commit? Well, the last one that we actually committed. And the last time I committed was the initial commit. And so it was a pristine copy of the repository. So this is really helpful when when you're making changes and you've butchered the document. You can come to this file status view, and you can. Well, in fact, let's go butcher a document. That sounds like fun. Okay, so well, let's say that we don't like the changes that we made to the trainerkevin.html. Well, we can come over here and say reset to commit, and we'll say OK, and it asks us to confirm because that's destructive, and we see that, that's gone off the list of the changed files. How about that? Okay, so if we're ready to commit, that's fine. But let's just say, no, we're not ready to commit. I really do want to change the text in trainer kevin.html. So I'm going to open it again in the TextMate editor. Make the text a little bigger. And as you can see, the original text is there. Okay, so one of the nice things about these version control systems is if you haven't committed your changes, you can very easily back them out. You can back them out by just going to the view that shows you the files that have changed and right-clicking and saying you want to reset that to the last time you committed it. Okay, so let's come back here and get rid of the italics and say this is the second version of content for Kevin. Okay, and we'll save that. Okay, it's been saved. And let's go back to the source tree client that has our repository open. And you can see that that file is on the list again. Right, so let's highlight it and see the changes. And you can see each the original line is gone. That's the red and pink one. And then the green one has the new content. Okay, so how do you commit changes? That's the next thing that we want to do. Well, we can commit changes. What a lot of people do is that they just take everything they've changed and they commit it. But and that's good if you remember every time you create a unit of work that you want to commit as a group, those changes as a group. It's good. But what if you've been working for half the day, you've changed say 16 files, and you want to do separate commits so you can control them separately, and every time you do a commit you have a message associated with it. And When you have a whole bunch of files that you've done, you have a whole day worth of work, a whole afternoon worth of work, um, and you decide to commit them all at the same time, about the only thing you can say is catch up on commits. And people do that, okay, when they're in a hurry. Or else, what they do is that's what these check boxes are for, okay? It's only going to commit the things that are checked, okay? Now, in true Git terminology, if we were doing this in the Windows version of the source tree client, or we're doing this at the command line, when you select a file or files to commit them, we say that you're staging them, okay? So for instance, let's do the student one first. When I click it here, it's going to be included in the commit, but the trainer Kevin is not. Okay, so now I can come up and click on the commit button. It has says there are 2 change files that I could commit, but I've only checked the box on one, which staged it, if you really want to get the lingo from Git. And I clicked on there, and now all of a sudden I've got a place for my commit message. So this is the student sample. So I'm going to say revise content and student sample.html. Okay, and now I can come down here and click on the commit button. And I have committed it. Now, where's it committed? It's committed to my local repository. Okay, it's been changed there and committed there. Let's go look at the history view. There it is. There's the last one. The last commit that we had is revise content in student sample.html. Okay, that's good. Okay, now, typically once we begin to commit things, we're probably going to commit all of them. Let's go back to the file status view. Okay, and let's select this. We're in hardcore Git lingo, we stage it. Let's click on the commit toolbar button, and then let's say revise content in trainer Kevin.html. Now, since these are individual file changes, then the text that we're putting in here is pretty trivial, okay? But let's say you made a change to your website, and you changed 4 things in a coordinated way to implement some feature. Well, then your message would be that you had implemented that feature. So the message for the commit wouldn't be quite so trivial. Okay, and then we're going to go down here and click on commit. Okay, so now all of the changed files are committed. So none of them are in a changed status. Okay, so let's go to the history view, and you can see we've got 2 commits, right? And we don't have any kind of work in progress. There are no uncommitted changes, because if you go back to file status, you can see that that's empty. Now, are we done? Well, not in terms of our assignment, because our assignment was to change the content on our page, okay, to commit it. So we've done those 2 things. And we want to push the commits from our local copy of the repository up to the remote repository which is the one we share with all of our classmates. Okay, so what do you do to push? Well, you just have to push some buttons. Can I just simply push? Let me say don't, okay? Because of the fact that we're all working on different pages, we should never have the problem that we need to merge the changes from two different pages. Despite that, if we try to push before we've pulled other people's changes from the remote repository, we'll get in a kind of ugly, hard to get out of state. Okay? So what we want to do is a quick pull, even if there isn't a number up here. A lot of the times, you'll see there's a 4 here or a 6 here. Remember, we're all doing our homework at the same time at about 10:30 on Sunday night, right? So there's a lot of people pushing up changes. So you want to make sure you pull them all down. So click pull. Always do a pull before a push. Okay. And we see that pull. And now immediately do your push. And say, okay. Okay. Because there's a lot of people on your team. You're all working at once. And this works easiest. You get in less kind of trouble that you need to noodle your way out of if you do a pull and an immediate push. What happens if you got interrupted between the time you did the pull and the time you wanted to do the push? It never hurts to do a pull when it's already up to date. Never hurts. Okay, so always, right before you're going to click the push, click the pull, okay the pull, wait for it to end, and then do the push. All right, we're going to cancel this because we don't have anything to push. Okay, so let's do a couple of things. That's it for source tree. Okay, we'll close our way out of the 2 windows of the Mac source tree client. Let's look at the site as it currently exists in the repository on our machine. It's in the directory Senior Capstone Spring 2019. And the top level page is index.html, so I'm going to right click on that and open it with, let's open it with Chrome, Google Chrome. So this is open, it looks nice. And here, the default page, the top page is the students index page. So let's go to student sample. Go down here, student sample. Okay, and there it is. These are the changes that I had made. The first paragraph, I had already made them before we began this video, but the second paragraph is completely new. And if I go to the, if I click on teams, I go to the index of teams. There are just 10 teams. If we click on one, we'll go to a team page. I'm going to have each team populate theirs in the very end of the course. And on the instructors page, we can click on the trainer, Kevin page, and it says that this is the second version of content for Kevin. So that's not very impressive content. I typically have, have a link to my website. And I bet that by the time I finish all these tutorial videos, I'll have a version up there that says that. Okay, so where is this web content? Well, it is on my machine. It's in my local copy of the repository, which is just a plain old directory with a .git subdirectory, which holds all the metadata for it. Okay. All right. Where else is it? Well, this content and the changes that we made are also on the remote copy of the repository because we pushed it there. Now, how can we tell that? We haven't done the next assignment that we are going to do. We're going to show how you can pull from a remote repository down to a web server. In fact, we're going to have each of the students do that for their own SOAS web server account. Okay, but right now, as we get to the end of the work for this current week, how can we check it? Well, we could check it by just going back to our Bitbucket webpage. Okay, and I'm going to show you a feature that I only want you to use to look for your changes. Okay, it turns out that when you go to your repository, okay, the default view that you're on is the source view. In the old days, which I consider the good old days, there was no way to try to make a change in the source view. In more recent days, which I call the bad days, there is a way to try to make a change in the source view of the Bitbucket website. Let me warn you, don't do it. Okay? Why? Well, because you get changes out there that get in kind of some weird limbo status, and it takes us forever to fix them. Okay? So if you go to source, like I'm having you do now, only do that to browse around. That was what the original feature did. So where do we want to browse? Well, we want to browse to students, and the only one we changed so far is student comma sample. So click on that, and it's going to open that page. Okay, and then we can see that it has all the content that we're expecting it to have. Just stop there. Don't be changing stuff. Don't be trying to commit stuff. Just back arrow out of that sucker, okay? Because you're buying yourself trouble if you change a document in this source view. It's just, I've warned you, okay? So that's how you know that you have it done. How will you be able to see it in your own copy of the website? Well, the next assignment we're going to do, we're going to learn how to pull a copy of the repository, which again is just a directory that holds our website. We're going to learn how to pull that down to our own SOAS web server account. And we're each going to have our own copy of the website. But that's the next assignment. So that's it for here. We're all done. I'm going to say bye until next time. Bye-bye.